What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I want to talk about our Atlanta Falcons and have we finally fixed the trenches. But if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content. Hit that like button for your boy. If you'd like to follow your boy on Twitter and Instagram, you can follow me at Jew Talk Sports. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can donate to my Cash App, which is the $ Jew Talk Sports. And if you'd like to be a part of my Jew Talk Sports membership, you can hit that join tab here on the channel as well. But with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So like I stated in today's video, I do want to talk about have our Atlanta Falcons finally fixed the trenches, both on the offense and the defensive lines. Personally, I do think that our Atlanta Falcons they may have finally fixed the trenches. If you've been watching my channel since I started on YouTube, 2018-2019 season, I've always talked about the trenches, that the games are won and lost in the trenches. And I believe in the game of football, that's where everything, that's where everything starts and that's where everything is finished, is in the trenches. And if you can't control the trenches, if you don't win the line of scrimmage, it's hard to win football games. And personally, I do think this is the first season that I actually, going into the season, am confident about the trenches. I really feel like we've struggled since we went to the Super Bowl in 2016. And then after that season in 2017, that was the last time that I was actually confident in the players that we had in the trenches, because we had depth. We had a lot of players that were capable of stopping the run. We had players that could get after the quarterback, and we had a rotation of guys that could get after the quarterback and stop the run. But since 2017, I really feel like our Atlanta Falcons didn't do a good job of building the trenches. With our last regime, Thomas Dimitroff didn't do a good job in the draft of bringing in guys in free agency and bringing in guys in the draft and bringing in the correct talent to be able to stop the run, to be able to pass protect and run block. And I really feel like the attitude of our Atlanta Falcons team, we didn't have the proper structure to bring in the proper players, and we didn't spend money the correct ways as far as Thomas Dimitroff in the front office of bringing in quality players on the defensive line, whether it was in the draft or whether it was in free agency. This season, heading into the season, the number one reason why I'm confident that the Falcons will make the playoffs and I'm confident that the Falcons will have a successful season is because we have great depth in the trenches, both on the offensive line and the defensive line, which is huge in the game of football, because you know that injuries are going to happen at some point. And you also know to be able to rush the passer and to stop the run, you have to have depth on that defensive line. You have to be able to, stop the run. You have to be able to make teams one-dimensional. And I really feel like over the last couple years, since 2017, we really haven't had depth on our defensive line. We tried bringing in, splash, signings, guys like Dante Fowler. We brought in guys in the draft like Vic Beasley and Takk McKinley. But we didn't really have the depth on the defensive line. Like in 2016, that was the last time. 2016, 2017 was the last time that we actually had, a multitude of guys that we can rotate in and out. Since then, Grady Jarrett has kind of been the lone wolf on the defensive line as far as us having a guy who was disruptive. And I really think this season they did a really good job in the offseason, because Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot were on the same page, which I feel like Thomas Dimitroff and Dan Quinn at times were not on the same page in what they thought the roster should look like. And to me, they really didn't do a good job of working together and having the same vision for the team. And I really feel like before we hired both Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith, I think that our front office did a great job of letting those guys understand, both Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith, letting the GM and the head coach understand that you're going to have to work together. You're going to have a similar vision for the team for us to be successful. And I really think they did a really good job. If you look at this offseason of bringing in guys, first off, solidifying the offensive line, bringing guys back in Caleb McGarry at right tackle, bringing back Chris Lindstrom. And you still have Jake Matthews, and you still have Matt Hennessy and Drew Dahlman. You have those five core guys that played together for the last couple years. And you guys know that I'm a firm believer in chemistry. I'm a firm believer in having guys that has gelled and played together. And on the offensive line, you definitely have to have guys that have that chemistry because they basically have to move as one. Those guys got to know, the tendencies of the guy that's playing next to them. And I really think that we did a good job this offseason of bringing back, re-signing our own players in the trenches. And on defense, I think we did a really good job of adding more depth, bringing in guys like Calais Campbell, bringing back Eddie Goldman, bringing in guys in the draft and Zach Harrison, who I think will be a budding star. At one point, he possibly could develop into a really good player. We have guys in Arnold Ebiketie returning. We have guys in Lorenzo Carter, who we brought back, who played really well for us last year. And I just believe that I can name maybe up to about 10 guys that you can rotate on the defensive line. And I really think that that's going to help this team because you're going to be able to keep your defensive line fresh. You brought in big bodies in the middle of the defense and that teeth of that defense. You have guys like Taquan Graham returning who play really well on the interior. You've added, like I said, Calais Campbell next to Grady Jarrett and David Onyemata from the Saints. Those guys are really disruptive on the defensive line. So that's really the number one reason heading into this season why I really think that the Atlanta Falcons will play well this season, why they'll win a lot of football games, because I really feel like we're going to be able to make teams one-dimensional by shutting off the run and forcing teams into third and longs, forcing teams to have to throw the ball. And when you're able to get pressure on the quarterback on third and long situations, that's when bad things happen for the offense. That's where tip balls happen. That's where sacks take place. And that's where negative plays take place. And I feel like since 2017, we haven't been able to create enough negative plays on first and second down on the defense because we were weak up the middle of our defense. Other than Grady Jarrett, we really didn't have great depth on our defensive line, and we were really weak on the interior of our defensive line. So teams were able to just to gut us and run the ball, up the middle of up the teeth of our defense. And if you talk to any good defensive coordinator or any good football mind, they'll tell you on the defense, you want to be strong up the middle of your defense, your defensive line, your defensive tackles, your linebackers, your safeties, right up the middle of your defense, up the teeth of the defense. You really want to be stout, and the Falcons haven't been stout. And over the last couple seasons, we've given up, 4 or 5 yards to carry. And that really, that doesn't bode well for your team to be able to get stops on third down. A lot of the times in the last few seasons when Arthur Smith has been here on third down, it's a lot of third and shorts, 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 5 or less. And you want the teams to be in that 3rd and medium range or 3rd and long where you're able to get home because the quarterback has to hold the football. That allows your defensive linemen to pin their ears back. But over the last couple seasons, we haven't really been able to get a pass rush because the quarterback wouldn't have to hold the ball long on third down because majority of the time it was 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 or less, which at that point, the full playbook is open for teams to still be able to run the ball. You want to force teams on third down, especially on 3rd and long situations, for the quarterback to have to hold on to the football and force the team to have to pass the ball. Most NFL teams are not going to run the ball on 3rd and long or a 3rd and 7 situation, a 3rd and 8 situation. And over the last couple seasons, the Falcons haven't been able to put teams in those situations. It's rare that we've caused teams to play on 3rd and long situations. We've had a lot of 3rd and short situations, and that's the reason that our defense haven't been able to get off the field. So I really think that this front office, Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith, had a vision when they were hired, and they've done a great job, I feel like, of fixing the trenches, bringing in that depth, not just on the defensive line, but also on the offensive line. We drafted guys like Matt Bergeron, who's coming in, and he'll be able to possibly play the guard position, and he can play multiple spots on the defensive line. We brought in the kid from South Carolina, Javon Gwynn. He's another guy that can do multiple things and play multiple positions, the center position, the guard position. So I really feel like this is the deepest Atlanta Falcons team that I can remember us having since I've been on YouTube, since I've been making content for the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, 2016 to me was the last team that was really, really deep. You had, the Dwight Freeneys, you had the Jonathan Babineaus, and you had guys like Vic Beasley on that roster. the Brooks Reeds and the Courtney Upshaws. On that team, you had multiple guys, Adrian Claiborne, that was rushing the passer. And that was the last time that we had multiple guys. Since 2016, 2017, we really haven't had that depth on the defensive line or the offensive line. So if one player gets injured, we've seen over the last couple seasons that our Falcons have struggled, not only getting after the passer, or not only stopping the run, but also when we had Matt Ryan, we struggled to protect the passer. We struggled to run the ball prior to Arthur Smith and this regime getting here. So with that being said, you guys let me know what you think of the video. You guys let me know, do you feel like the Atlanta Falcons have fixed the trenches? Personally, I do. I definitely think that the Atlanta Falcons have fixed the trenches and have done a great job of bringing in, great players to come in and not only help lead this team, but also, complement the players we have, like the Grady Jarrett's that's already on the roster. On the offensive line, you brought in guys and Chris Lindstrom to help, the Drew Dahlmans come along. You've brought back guys like Caleb McGarry and Jake Matthews who've done it here for a long time. So with that being said, this been your boy Jew. You guys let me know what you think of the video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up, be blessed, peace.